I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. I'd like to read a statement for confirmation with the Open Public Meetings Act. This meeting was called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law. Notices of this meeting were sent to the Courier News and the Star Ledger on February 2, 2016. In addition, copies of the notices were posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, on the Raritan Borough website, and filed in the office of the Borough Clerk. Notices on the bulletin boards have remained continuously posted. Proper notice has been given. The Borough Clerk is directed to include this statement in the minutes of the meeting. Roll call, please.
Mayor, Councilman Bray.
Here.
Council President Kara.
Here.
Councilwoman Daniluk.
Here.
Councilman Fooey.
Here.
Councilman Giraldi.
Here.
Councilman Sebelia.
Present.
Yield the floor to Councilwoman Daniluk.
Bow down your heads, please enlighten our minds to know truth. Direct our wills to act in good judgment so that we know what to do and what we speak will be beneficial to our citizens, for our government, for our happiness, and for honor and glory. Bless us one and all. Before the flag salute, I'd like to have a moment of silence for Mrs. Kara, who recently passed away this week. Thank you.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. My condolences to your family. We are now getting ready for executive session. Resolution number 2016-02-34. The executive session subject matter is 5. 1. Personnel. 2. Uniform police promotion procedure. 3. Police negotiations. 4. Lease agreement. And 5. Litigation regarding Gannett. I would like a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Roll call, please.
Councilman Bray.
Yes.
Council President Kara.
Yes.
Councilwoman Daniluk.
Yes.
Councilman Fooey.
Yes.
Councilman Giraldi.
Yes.
Councilman Sebelia.
Yes.
So moved.
How are you?
Good. We good? We're back on. We just completed the executive session, and so number Roman numeral 6 on the agenda is to open the meeting for public comments, and in accordance with section 29-1 of the code of the Borough of Raritan, there should be a 5-minute time limit per speaker. Anyone care to speak? Seeing none? Okay, we close? We need a vote for that?
No.
Well, we're going to close the public comment. Good idea. Okay. Next is the approval of the minutes. Item Roman numeral 7. We'll take them one at a time. January 12, 2016, regular minutes. Any modifications or adjustments to the minutes? Roll call.
Councilman Bray.
Motion? I'm sorry. Trying to move too fast.
So moved.
Councilman Brett?
Second.
Councilwoman Dillon? Roll call, please.
Councilman Bray.
Yes.
Council President Kara.
Abstain.
Councilwoman Daniluk.
Yes.
Councilman Fooey.
Yes.
Councilman Giraldi.
Yes.
Councilman Sebelia.
Yes.
Okay, the second set of minutes of the January 25th, 2016 special budget meeting that we held downstairs. I have a motion to approve the minutes.
Make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Bray.
Yes.
Council President Kara.
Yes.
Councilwoman Daniluk.
Abstain.
Councilman Fooey.
Yes.
Councilman Giraldi.
Yes.
Councilman Sebelia.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving to the work session, item 8, redevelopment resolution. At our last meeting, as you may recall, we had JMF Properties who made a presentation, and subsequent to that presentation, we had our redevelopment council for the borough, Mr. Lair. As part of that discussion, and Mr. Lair brought us through the issues with respect to the redevelopment process and how it moves between here and the planning board. And in the interim, there became an issue about there apparently is more than one type of redevelopment process. And I was just asking Mr. Laird if he would please address the council and we could revisit that discussion from last time. Thank you.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, good evening, Council President, good evening, members of the council, Dan, members of the professional staff, Jeff Lehrer from the law firm of Deeper and Cisco Bateman. The mayor is right, there was an issue that we left somewhat, and I assume there's a responsibility somewhat for that, because I had heard during the discussion from Mr. Forgione that he had control at least of most of the properties of the 14 parcels, but it appears that may not be the case. There may be 3 or 4 that he doesn't have control over. The law in New Jersey changed a few years ago, and I had just assumed when I left the chambers that this was going to be what's called a non-condemnation redevelopment designation. The law changed in New Jersey a couple of years ago, and the statute, the redevelopment statute, now requires that when you refer the matter to the planning board, that you designate it as either a non-condemnation redevelopment analysis or a condemnation analysis. What that means is that the planning board still conducts the same study to determine whether it meets the criteria, but you initially determine whether it's going to be non-condemnation or condemnation. And for the most part, I had just assumed that, as I said, that was going to be non-condemnation based upon what I had heard. I then sent the resolution, the designation, the non-condemnation resolution to Mr. Forgione. At his request, he asked if he could see a copy of it. I sent it to him, and he called me and said, look, I may not be able to get control over some of these properties. I may, but I may not. Let me just tell you, it's really not my decision, obviously. It's a council decision whether they want to make it condemnation or non-condemnation, but my job is really to just tell you what the law is and for you to decide whether you want to proceed on either basis. If a condemnation designation or request is made from the onset, the council, if they elect to adopt a resolution authorizing the use of condemnation, the planning board notice of the hearing to the affected property owners has to specifically indicate that the use of eminent domain may be possible. If the planning board, after its hearing, makes a determination that the property meets one or more of the criteria for designation as an area in need of redevelopment, and they send that resolution back to the governing body, the governing body, when it adopts its resolution, if it adopts its resolution, then formally designating the property as an area in need of redevelopment, has an additional burden. And they have to then notify the property owners in the affected area that condemnation may be used to acquire some or all of the parcels of land. And it also triggers a 45-day time clock where the property owners that may be affected can challenge the designation. So you really can't, the borough can't take any action to acquire lands for a period of 45 days from the date that they receive that notice. So it's really an intentional delay mechanism that's included in the statute if you decide to use condemnation. I'm not suggesting that you do, but if you do pursue that route, then condemnation is governed by a completely separate statute. You then have to, if you proceed with condemnation, obviously the costs of all of that would be borne by the developer. However, you have to enter into good bona fide negotiations, you have to order the appraisals. There's a waiting period of at least 14 days before a property owner, you can take any action once you send them the appraisal. So that process can go on, and I can talk to you about that process if you want to know about how that process works. Obviously, there are issues that are political in nature dealing with the whole concept of condemnation. That's obviously not my issue, but I want to bring the legal issues to your attention because condemnation carries with it certain legal obligations as well.
Any questions? Thank you.
All right, Mayor, as you're aware that I have provided you with a resolution.
There are, when I was aware that there were two, for lack of a better word, flavors of redevelopment, I asked that Mr. Lair send that to our clerk, and so that there are two versions of that, one with and one without eminent domain. And so, I believe it was sent to each of you, but one of the things that prompted this discussion was the issue of the properties in question. And when Mr. Forgione was here, he said that he was a contract purchaser, and again, I was more focused on the size, the number of units, the price point of the units, and so forth. And so, as I became aware of this, I not only asked you to do it in 2 different times, and I asked that we put this back up on the agenda again, because I think this is different than what was everyone's understanding when they voted previously. And then, in order to complete, in my judgment, to complete the fact analysis, what I did is I wrote, if you recall, we had a submission that was one rather large page by, I can't remember his first name, but it was McDonough was the planner.
John McDonough.
John McDonough. And then there was a couple of pictures or drawings or sketches or whatnot. So I wrote to Mr. McDonough, and I said, look, I said, this issue has come up, and I'm very much interested in what is the percent of the acreage that you have under contract. Make a long story short, he didn't get back to me. So I made a call to JMF Properties, and they're in Whippany, New Jersey, and I asked them to please send an email, which I believe was distributed to all of you, and I'd like to read the email because I wanted to understand the nature of the request. Are we talking about, 1% of the land is under contract, or are we talking about 30%, 60%, and so forth? So, and I'll read this to you. It's from Mr. Forgione, who is a principal within JMF Properties, which I guess is his name. And it's regarding Block 81 redevelopment, and I received this yesterday at 11:42, and I believe all of you have this. And it says, Mayor, pursuant to our conversation, please accept the following information. The total number of lots in Block 81 is 14, and we have 11 under control. The total land area is 153,060 square feet. In common vernacular, I would just call that 3.3 acres. And it is important to note that the total percentage of land under contract or has a letter of intent executed by the owners is 92%. So at this juncture, we're talking about 8% of the property is not under contract. And then he further writes, it is important to note that the 3 lots we do not control are not owner occupied. They are rented as residential units. Please let me know if there's any additional information. Thank you very much, JMF Properties. And because I think there is an issue of balance relative to this, and that's why I really wanted to bring it up again, is that I think we all have a concern about the power of government, but I like to reflect upon having a balance. And in essence, the way that I, for lack of a better word, politically look at this is, this seems to be an important opportunity in town, that if we were looking to go out and to essentially seek the opportunity of eminent domain over the entire parcel, the 3.3 acres, that would be one set of facts. If we, this is the case, are looking at 8% of the total property not under contract, so now we have three parties in the room. We have the developer who obviously wants to have 100%. We have the town, provided that this is good for the town, who would be interested, have an interest of it going ahead. And then we have the three property owners who represent 8% of the property. And so, to me, whenever you're making a judgment, the underlying facts are important because there are tremendous philosophical issues, you could call them political, I call them philosophical issues, with respect to this subject. And I just wanted to alert the council and now the public to the activities that have gone on since the last meeting, because I really wanted to essentially restart the process and to essentially make sure that if we're going to go down this redevelopment path, we choose the right path from the beginning, because as I said to my kids, if you start off wrong, you'll never end up right. And so that's why in the interim, I did get the information, I did ask for the two versions of the resolution, and I did want to bring this back out into the public forum for both council as well as this audience. So with that, I'll be quiet. Any comment or discussion?
What's the perspective on acquiring the three properties? Is that a possibility?
Oh, I think it's a probability. See, the way this is just me, the way I look at this is that there's an infamous house in Atlantic City which is stuck inside of or part of a casino. And I remember that as a young kid when they were developing that, and that's really the situation that we're trying to eliminate. Basically, I think it's the intention of all parties to be fair. And so, in essence, my expectation is that we are truly only doing this as a last resort if in fact the planning board and then subsequently the council decides that this is something that is in the town's interest. And so, I think because of the three parties, which is the developer and the property owners who are principals, and then as we go through this process and we come to a conclusion with the advice of the planning board and their people, that we don't want to essentially come to a conclusion and say, no, wait a minute, 8% of the property owners chose not to go ahead, so the town is denied the opportunity to proceed. So I think the market is the market is the market, and I think reasonable people will come to reasonable conclusions. And in my judgment, in the event that they don't, I think that utilization of eminent domain is a opportunity for the town to essentially exercise its priorities as to whether or not at that point in time, it's in its interest, based upon the work that goes up to that date, is that this is the development of import, and the developer and the three property owners have failed, and we have the opportunity to move ahead. Obviously, the preferable option is that we go through the process, and if this is good for the town, that the property owners would all get, and the applicant would have gotten together. And really what this does, in my personal judgment, is to protect the interests of the town, because basically, I think there is a fair value for that property, and I think there is a great opportunity, at least as I see it sitting in this chair today, for redevelopment of the property that frankly I used to live a stone's throw away, and it hasn't looked much different than it did 35 years ago, other than Rigoletti's closed down. But I think what this does, it preserves for us the opportunity, if the private marketplace fails, and the public interest, as we define it at that point in time, based upon everything we hear today, says that this is good for the town, it then gives us the ability to move forward, and only in that circumstance. And that's why, in the interim, are the reasons that I wanted to get this out to you. I need it, and that's the reason I wanted this in writing, because I don't like hearsay, I got this, I got that. Because I also, as you said, misunderstood, or probably more appropriately, didn't perceptively question. But I thought, in order to make a fair discussion with you, as well as the audience, is that those facts need to be brought forth, as well as the context that I just discussed.
Mayor, just one other thing, just for your information, that if you go through the condemnation route, you don't have, obviously, you don't have to use it.
Of course.
But if you go the other route, and non-condemnation, and then you go through the process, if you decide that you need to go through the condemnation process, you have to start all over. It's the restart button all over again. So I just want you to understand that
That's a good
is a
point.
factor.
Thank you. Okay. Any, yes, sir.
So Mayor, just, Resolution 2016-1-32 was the resolution adopted at the last meeting referring the matter to the planning board for study. So I think just procedurally, so it's clean, if the council is inclined to adopt it would be an amending resolution, a resolution amending Resolution 2016-1.
I was gonna ask you that, but I didn't know what everyone's persuasion was.
Right, so I'm just putting that out there, so however the council wants to go, that's how it should occur.
Fine. So, does anyone wanna make a motion and then we can have discussion? Or, that's the way we normally do it, but we'll have a motion second and discussion, or how do you wanna go?
I'll make the motion to discuss it.
Okay,
Is that what it-
why don't we just discuss it? Okay, how's everybody feel?
For me, the numbers he presented, that would be tax revenue generated, is enough reason to pursue this route, the condemnation route, but not necessarily having to use it. That's how I feel about it. I think that's pretty
I
simple.
agree, the project should go forward. It's a blighted area, it needs to be improved.
I agree to, should go forward with that.
Okay. Could I have a motion amending the resolution to include the right of condemnation or eminent domain?
Yep.
Maybe the council needs to,
That's fine.
words. Have a motion for that, please?
I'll make the motion.
Councilwoman Kara, a second, please?
I'll second.
And this would just be resolution, so this would now be titled Resolution 2016-2-44, is that correct?
Yeah.
-44, a resolution amending Resolution 2016-1-32 to include the referral to the planning board for redevelopment study to include condemnation. That's the motion in the second.
Roll call, please?
Councilman Bray?
Yes.
Council President Kara?
Yes.
Councilwoman Danilo?
Abstain?
Councilman Fooey?
Yes.
Councilman Giraldi?
Yes.
Councilman Sebelia?
No.
Okay, let's hope the private marketplace works.
Thank you, Mayor.
Motion carries, thank you. Okay. Number 2, under item 8, work session. Councilman?
Oh, yes, I have a gentleman here, his name's Dom, I'd like to, I don't wanna steal his thunder. I'm gonna let you talk and then I'm gonna get involved. Just introduce yourself and tell everybody, kinda, what you want.
I do tend to talk fast, so that'll be to your
Try to close.
advantage, so
Thank you.
I'll make it as quick as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's- Thank you.
My name's Dominic Canella. I am the president of the New Jersey Venom and one of the co-owners of Dynasty Softball Events.
Excuse me, what does Venom mean?
We are a softball organization. Actually, it's in there. New Jersey
It's a
Venom.
team, right?
It's a softball organization.
It's just the name of the
Just
club.
in
Has
there.
nothing to do with snakes.
No,
No,
no.
I'm good?
Yep. I have been involved in youth sports for over 20 years. I've actually been on the board of Bridgewater Baseball and Softball for 16 years now. Past president, spent 4 years over there, and 11 years ago started the Bridgewater Panthers softball program, which is still in existence and helps feed our Bridgewater Raritan High School. 6 years ago, we saw a need for a travel club organization. We had our better players leaving, so we started the New Jersey Venom softball organization in Bridgewater. So we've been doing that now for 6 years, and we're the fastest growing travel softball organization in the state, pulling mostly from the Somerset County or the Skyline Conference area that encompasses Bridgewater Raritan High School. In 6 years, we've established ourselves as one of the, last year we were ranked, our top 18U team was ranked as number 15 in the Northeast out of over 1,000 teams. And again, mostly pulling from the Somerset County and Skyline Conference division. We've been involved now with some very powerful softball organizations for the last several years on a national level. Team New Jersey, the PGF, Premier Girls Fast Pitch, and we've been running some of these events over at the Bridgewater Fields in Northbridge and Chimney Rock. And teams that come in from all over the country. I mean, California, there's typically only about 11 teams that are from the state, and over 80 teams are flying in to any one of our 4 major airports. So we just go through this quickly. Travel softball is broken down into 4 categories: a town travel, a rec, a local club, a regional club, and a national club. And by a national club level means that they're traveling all over the United States playing softball. Our program started 6 years ago. We started as one 18U team, and now encompass everything from 10U all the way through to 18U. We do things a little bit differently in our organization. We have 2 trainers whose basically their job is to train all the teams in our organization. Our goal is to get girls recruited to play in college, which we can honestly say that in 6 years, every girl that's played in our program, that has graduated through our program and has wanted to play in college, is playing in college, everywhere from the Division I level through the Division III levels. We have a list of all the girls that have graduated through our program over the years, including girls that are graduating from high school this year, and we have one girl that's actually graduating in 2 years from Bernardsville that's going to Marist, that has verbal to Marist. We have run events here in Bridgewater at the national level. We have had college coaches from University of Oregon, University of Alabama will be here. As a matter of fact, will be here this summer. Pat Murphy, University of Florida, some of the top SEC schools come to our little neck of the woods here in Bridgewater and Raritan to watch girls play softball and recruit girls to come play for their colleges. So my presentation here in front of Raritan is that we are looking to expand what we are doing. We are currently utilizing 3 fields over at the Northbridge location, and we're utilizing 4 fields up at Chimney Rock. Being from the area, one day, just driving down past Washington Rock School, I noticed that there were 3 fields there, and I must have driven up that street 100 times and never realized that there were 3 softball fields there. Get to the back of the school, and there's a 4th field there. So our proposal, or what we'd like the council to consider, is our organizations would like to come in and help renovate those softball fields up to our standards and utilize them during the course of a year. We start in the spring and we go all the way through the fall to hold softball events. The advantage, as you can see on the last page of the presentation, is the host townships generate they get a tremendous economic impact from the influx of people that come to the township. Now, Raritan, does not have any hotels in Raritan.
We like to say that.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
So I apologize if that's a sore subject, but,
No.
The one advantage of having hotels in your township is that it does generate local revenue for the townships, okay? Unfortunately, even with Bridgewater, with our events, a lot of the Bridgewater hotels don't even step up, and Davidson Avenue down in Somerset gets the benefit of all that revenue, because we have to put teams between here and Edison for lodging. But if you've ever seen the mall during one of our events, the mall is absolutely packed during one of our events. And all the local businesses around Prince Rogers and Northbridge love when we hold our events. So we want to get our communities more involved with these events and your local businesses more involved. And with the proximity of that location to Northbridge, we'd like to have the council consider allowing us to develop that land a little bit better and make the fields a little bit nicer and utilize them during the course of the year. Besides the renovation of the properties, we will, of fixing that property up and those fields up, we will, like we do over at Prince Rogers, we continue to put money towards the fields every year. We aided, the most recent one is aided in additional batting cages over on the Northbridge 2 field, which you guys will get to enjoy this summer. Okay, so we do, our organizations like to give back. The New Jersey Venom currently practices at the Commons Way complex as well as at the Northbridge complex when we hold our own team practices. This is what we'd like to talk. I've been talking with Andy about this, and that's what we have for a proposal for Raritan
So,
to consider.
I just want to, I wanted to bring it up, I don't know about days of field, of usage, but to me, because I know that, and tell me if I'm correct or incorrect, I know you're trying to work with Somerville, Branchburg, and Hillsborough possibly, right?
We do work with Hillsborough now. We have not started with Branchburg yet. We
But
have worked
that's
with Hillsborough
on the-
and Somerville. There may be a parking issue over there.
Yeah, but the issue is the vision here, everybody, is these, he wants to get, what, you told me like around 100 ideally?
Our goal is in Somerset County to try to develop close to 40 fields. And if we can develop 40 fields between Hillsborough, Branchburg, Raritan, Bridgewater, we can bring a national event here encompassing, 300-400 teams to come here to play at every age group, 10, 12, 14, 16s. For a 5-day event that would have a huge economic impact in every town involved in that. It's, in the softball world, right now, in the real softball world, Huntington Beach, California is what we consider the mecca of softball. Okay, that's where the biggest and the best are going to play. On the East Coast, there's no big complex. There is Wide World of Sports down in Disney, but everybody goes there for Disney. But there's no real complex. The beauty of our little area here in our county, the thing that we have that nobody else has, especially on this coast, is we have 4 major airports in LaGuardia, JFK, Newark, and Philly, where any team from anywhere in the country can fly here typically for, 300 to 350 a player, depending on where they live and what airline is their hub in their neck of the woods. You can fly from Newark to San Francisco cheaper than you can fly from Newark to Pittsburgh. So, and it's just because of the way the hub situation works. So every team that comes here, when they fly in, nobody pays more than typically $350 for an airline ticket. So that's what makes us so attractive right here is the fact that we have access to 4 major airports within an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And of course, New York City. New York City is a nice draw.
Yeah, so I just think it's a great opportunity for us to get involved, because if we don't get involved, other people are gonna get involved, I gotta believe it. I have children, they don't play any travel, but I know parents that play travel, and they go everywhere. Zach, I think you coach, right? So you know what this is all about. I think it's a great opportunity. Granted, other towns are gonna benefit, but so are we. So I think we should jump on this bandwagon as quick as possible.
Andy, I have 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
Our facilities don't have lights like the other ones around that you use.
Right.
So that means you'd have to obviously be using the fields during the day.
Or put in lights.
Or put in lights.
Yeah, we're not gonna put in lights.
Right.
But we play, a lot of them play during the week, during the day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so our biggest event is actually Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Starts at 8 a.m.
Okay,
during the day. So we play during the day and we play until nightfall,
right.
you know.
All right, now what do the recreation department and the rec commission?
Well,
That's all right, go ahead. I'll
finish up. You had one
Oh,
more.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
Rec programs would get the fields before anything like this. And if there's conflicting times like that, and obviously we don't know the numbers that they're gonna get, we don't know the kind of teams they're gonna have, I understand that, I get it. But there's no way to not
I
give
have-
them the fields first, right?
Well, no, I actually, I looked into this, I talked to Rich, and it always seems rec, because I guess they're under Somerville, and Somerville gives them the schedule at the last minute, and I believe actually we have the authority to, we could give him the fields
Yeah, you
on
want-
certain dates, and rec would have to
Work around that.
work around that.
Well, how
And,
often would you actually be using the fields?
Well, we typically, I mean, most rec programs are during the week. So we're typically on weekends. And then we have the one major college showcase that is during the day during the week. And that's in the middle of, that's in summer. It goes on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday in the summer.
And in the summer, it wouldn't be an issue with the rec program.
Right, and
That's all I'm
then in the
no,
fall,
I looked,
and then in the fall. In the spring, we are only weekends,
Right.
Saturday, Sundays.
So you'd be able to work through a
We
schedule
actually-
so everybody gets
well,
a piece of the
What
pie?
I mean, basically, I could give you the entire 2016 schedule now, today.
Mhm.
So that your rec program could work around it.
Well, then this makes perfect sense.
I-
Yeah, and I mean, we could give you 2017's
Right.
probably in November
Yeah.
of 16.
Other upgrades, bleachers, that kind of stuff, I know you're not gonna do lights, but, other amenities?
Well, you have bleachers there,
Not on all the fields though, right?
I'll be honest with you, bleachers typically, parents
Yeah, they
typically
bring their
sit their
chairs.
chairs and go down the
Bring their own
foul lines and
chairs,
everything
yeah.
else.
Yeah.
We would put the money into the fields to bring them up to our grade, and we would also provide temporary fencing that we would put up and take down, during our events. Obviously, if we could work with your recreation department, you know, we'd like to put them up in spring and leave them up until the end of the season. Now, I know Pop Warner uses that, I don't know if they still use it, or what the,
I don't know.
what the deal
I
is.
think, I don't know if they are.
Pop Warner didn't have a great year, let's say that.
Yeah, they had- I think they
So,
had some-
if Pop Warner didn't use it, and we could leave it up pretty much the whole time, and then just put them up and take them down at one time, that would obviously be the idea.
You would cover insurance,
We have an insurance, actually, my partner at Dynasty is an insurance agent, so.
and if we had to use police for traffic control, this and that, would you people absorb that kind of cost?
If it got to that, yes. We hope to avoid that, we were able to avoid that up at Chimney Rock. We had an issue with parking up at Chimney Rock, and we sat down with the police chief and the rec department, and we were actually able to, we realized that the land behind the tennis courts up there, you can drive on. So we actually set up a whole system where parents can then pull in and drive all the way down and around. You now drive up Chimney Rock during a tournament, you'd never even know that there was a softball tournament going on.
The only, Dan, that one field behind Washington School, that's county though, right?
No.
That's us?
Oh, the one by the school.
Behind
By
it.
the school, yes.
Yeah, that was my T-ball.
Right.
That's county though, right?
As far as I know, yes, I think we own the.
So you guys would have to get,
Well, I kind of already approached that, and I think the county, if you guys asked and said, hey, can we give out the use of that field, I don't think the county would have.
right, I
Right, I don't
know
even know if the county really comes up here to work on that field.
that. No.
Well, that's a long
Yeah, and
story.
then,
But,
That's a long story.
I don't know
yeah,
about the-
so,
the legal
you know,
ramifications.
if the county allowed you guys to permit out that field or whatever, then it'd just be easier for us to,
So you'd be looking at 3 fields up there?
no, all four,
4 fields,
you know, all four.
okay. Now, the parking is on-street parking up there?
No, you have parking around there is some parking around the school, and then you have the,
That's an active county facility. They're running a nutrition program. The county has active offices within that complex.
on the where the Washington school is?
Yes.
Okay,
I just-
on weekends?
No, during the
Oh.
week, that's
Okay.
where it was, I thought you said earlier.
The one
Wednesday,
event, we have one
Thursday,
event that
Friday,
is during
Saturday,
the week, yeah.
whatever it was.
We have one event that's during the week, so, but I do know that there is street parking up there.
So, what's your experience on parking? So obviously, I assume, I should remember, but I assume there's 10 women on a team or 9?
Well,
But no,
Well, the
I mean,
extras-
there's, some of these teams
There's
are
subs.
carrying 15, 16 players.
Okay.
9 play
Right.
during the
Right,
course of the
yeah.
game, but
Okay.
you carry 15 or 16 players.
So
But when they, depending on the event, a lot of teams do, they carpool. Actually, some teams come with a team van.
You
They
got,
have
you
1,
got
2
2
vans.
parking areas. You got one on each side of the building, right?
Right.
yeah,
Right, and then like you said too, don't forget if a team's coming from Alabama, I'm making an assumption, but I don't believe all of them are gonna rent a car from Enterprise. They're probably gonna rent a bigger thing, and they're kinda,
And depending on some
Travel
of those
together.
events,
Makes sense.
we put out notices that there is limited parking at that complex and to try to carpool. And then, depending on how the event goes, we would do drop-off areas, or we would put parking attendants in the parking lot to maximize the parking there, and then inform people where to park.
Is that Prospect Street there? Is that the name of it? Prospect?
yeah, Prospect.
Because I know when we had girls softball, it was, the parking lot, Chief, do you know offhand, there's parking on both sides of the street?
one side,
One side.
only one side, and it's not the house side,
Yeah.
Right.
it's the field side.
Right.
I would just think that they don't even have to look at the parking.
And then the concession stand too, we could open that up and then.
Yep, and keep anything you guys make. So that's, again, we try to do it as a give back.
Yeah,
Try to make it the least intrusive to the officials, benefit any program you guys wanna benefit from, and you get your fields maintained, and upgraded.
Well, there'd have to be some dialogue between you and Recreation to
Yep.
make sure everybody lives in peace and harmony.
Absolutely. We do it now with Bridgewater, we do it with Hillsborough. One of the things that we did, we installed sprinklers over at Northbridge.
Yeah.
So that when they're playing, when the high school's playing in May, the field's not like playing in the parking lot.
right,
So these are upgrades that we try to make, again, to the facilities over time as we continue to have tournaments there. Because people then want to come play. When you play on nice fields, they want to keep coming back to
Right.
play. We also offer something here with the mall, the Raritan, downtown Raritan. I can tell you right now, I guarantee that half the teams don't even know about downtown Raritan, so we would want to try to promote having people go to, the Raritan area, the businesses down there for lunch or for dinner when they're in the area.
Anything
I'm
further?
the
Oh, I'm sorry.
the liaison to the rec department, so if you meet the second Thursday of every month, if you just wanna shoot me an email or whatever about that,
Okay.
I'll give you my email.
I have my card actually.
Oh, yeah, I'll send you an email.
If the recreation committee and the recreation department is fine with it, so am I.
That's not where I'm at.
Sounds like a win-win situation.
So why don't we have you guys talk to the recreation and let's do it. I don't think there's anything we have to specifically do, is that correct?
Correct. Not at this point.
Right,
That's
yeah.
fine.
so if he was
I
doing
think that's
anything,
your point of contact, and if anything that they need, they'll come to us and we'll do what we need to do.
Okay,
Fair?
perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Schreck. You still here in the snow? Okay, Rick, engineers report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Orlando Drive Phase 3, a reminder that we're having a redo of the scoping hearing for the Green Acres diversion at the February 23rd meeting. Tom Bocino from Somerset County Park will be here. Raritan Library, we sent out 3 sets of bids for the electrical upgrade. We feel that's going to be below the bid threshold, since we have a qualified purchasing agent, which is a good thing, so we don't have to do formal bids on that. Firehouse generators delivered this past Friday. Wiring, I believe, will be proceeding this week. You can go up and actually see the generator now. Bell Avenue improvements, we started field survey work just before the last snowstorm and then broke down because of the plow leak, so we'll be back on that shortly once we get the field crews rescheduled. Inflow infiltration study, we're just about completing the mapping of the entire sanitary system. Using the data that was given to us by Public Works, a very old book showing where the pipes were, is very useful information, supplemented that with field work. and we'll be reviewing past inspection reports to target the areas for the flow studies, and we'll recommend putting meters out to do a complete flow analysis. And sanitary manhole restoration, which is a 2015 Community Development Block Grant funded. We completed field work, and I should have bids prepared for, documents prepared for bidding in April.
Mayor, just one question, and Stan and I didn't get a chance to talk about the recommendation for award for the library. We don't have an actual appropriation, or is this not something that public service is doing?
That's a good point, we'll have to do that then.
I just want the council to be aware of it, that he can make a recommendation of award, but
We have 60 days to award.
there's no appropriation.
I got a question for you, Stan. With the meters and the pipes, do we have any time frame for that? And the only reason why I ask, I believe that I costs like $400,000 a year.
That's a continuing study, we'll have to look for funding after that, but I would like to get the flow meters out. It's better to do it before the summer months when it starts to get drier, so I would, I'll bring a recommendation back over the next month.
Okay.
We're looking at, we don't want to purchase these meters, we're gonna look to rent them for a period of time, and I'm looking at the right company to do that. Back, I believe, 2002 or 2003, we had an I&I problem that was up near Woodmere Street. In that area, we put flow meters out, we were able to isolate it to one small pipe break,
Okay.
so I'm gonna use that same type of process and try to really target the areas that.
On I&I, I find it to be an interesting cost calculation, and I was wondering if at some point in a not too distant future, you could have a discussion with the council about our minimum flows through SRVSA.
That's all part of the study, Mayor.
Okay.
We came in last year? Yeah, and demonstrated empirically using rainfall data, we overlaid the flows, the usage that we know from water, from the water meters. We overlaid that on top of rainfall data, and you could see how it lined up and what our spikes were going through the plant.
No, I understand that, but we also have a
But there has to
contractual,
be a cost benefit.
and there's a contractual relationship with the plant, is that in essence, I just think it would be apropos. Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to pay for not using this.
And while we're in the engineer's report, I have to say the Department of Public Works did a great job with snow removal. It was one of the longest snowstorms in history, and one of the problems we ran into was that they had to break after 20 hours of continuous plowing, as per the chief. And so when I think people woke up the following morning, I know I got several emails that people's streets, including my own, weren't plowed, but they were plowed several times, and then essentially by 11 o'clock that day, I think everybody had their streets cleared. And the dilemma that you run into, of course, is that if you start plowing after that, then you fill in everybody's driveway, and then you really get a lot of complaints. So kudos to the Public Works and the volunteers that helped them on the downtown. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Unfit buildings.
Thank you, Mayor. On your agenda for resolution 2016-2-43 is a resolution authorizing my firm to pursue a habitability hearing. I just wanted, for the record, read to the council what is in your packet. So if it's in the record, this is a letter dated February 5th, 2016, from Lou Guerra, construction official, to the mayor and council regarding block 116-0.02, lot 4, 21 Orlando Drive. And it states as follows: the building at 21 Orlando Drive, formerly occupied by the United Dye Company, has not been occupied in many years. In early May of 2015, the building sustained extensive damage due to a fire. Sections of the exterior of the building were removed to access and extinguish the fire. The building was protected by a fence, but no other work has been performed to restore or to demolish the building. The building remains uninhabitable. There are no utilities connected to the building. An application for a permit to reconstruct or demolish the building has not been filed. So that's the letter from Lou Guerra, construction code official, recommending or advising that this property is in fact uninhabitable. And when you get down to your resolution 2016-2-43, if the council so desires, to adopt a resolution, we'll pursue the habitability hearing for this property.
That's all. Okay. Hiring freeze, that is me. We've talked at the last 2 meetings about a hiring freeze, and my colleagues brought up some valid points, and I thought as a result of that conversation, that we were going to put together an approach that was satisfactory to council, meaning this council, sorry. The reality is, unless someone has a report, I don't think that that was done. And as a consequence, what I would really ask is that if we could take that and give it to the personnel and come up with, in concert with our attorney, Rich Runner, and come up with a plan that is going to be presented to the council at our meeting of the 23rd, I believe it is. Sure. Okay. And that was,
I'll reach out
I
to,
dropped the ball and I apologize.
so Brianna and Andy, I'll reach out to.
Please.
Okay. You got it.
Thank you. And again, my apologies. Hanging of banners for baseball/softball registration, Dan?
Right, in order to get registrants, Recreation is requesting signs up, one on First Avenue by the Washington School fence, another would be on Somerset Street, and the other would be on Sherman Avenue, the league fence.
Okay.
So I have.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, they do it every year.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
They do it every year, so, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Okay. Want to take a vote?
Just do some motion.
Motion.
It can be up and down, you don't have to do a roll call.
Yes.
Motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion to put the signs up?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Second.
Councilman Fooey and Councilman Sebelia. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay. Moving right along, very efficient. Thank you. Designation of an acting deputy clerk.
No, we skipped.
Sorry.
Well, did I skip one?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
7.
I'm sorry. I should put my glasses on then, huh? So much for efficient. All right. Number 7, May 28, 2016, recycling race request. And as you know, we've been doing this for a couple of years. You'll have it in your packet. And I have Dan Jaxel as the,
I just wanted to mention that, we have had, I think some of you know this, kind of like a little controversy, but quasi-controversy, if there's such a thing, about whether or not, the businesses really benefit from closure on Saturday morning. In fact, they're talking about occupying the streets from approximately 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. beyond Somerset Street, Thompson Street, 2nd Street, 2nd Avenue, 1st Street, and Wall Street. So, not to object, but I certainly think you may want to think about that before you give permission to the Tour of Somerville Recycling Series Race Coordinator.
And I agree with you on that, because I get kickback from my barber who's on Main Street. Saturday's a busy day for him, and nobody can get into his, his place. They think it's closed. So I don't have a problem revisiting this, but I think we should contact the businesses that are affected by it.
well, it's interesting, in the December Economic Development Committee meeting, I happened to be, as mayor-elect, I guess, at that point in time, invited to speak. And one of the items that they spoke about was the issue of they were interested in having a cycling race, but they were very interested in the routing of the cycling race. Now, there is a meeting, because I know you're on that with me, but there's a meeting on tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, at 6 o'clock. And we'll visit that tomorrow night, and would like to get back, if that's okay with the council.
Yeah, that's good, but just for a point, I agree with Andy that it does seem to be a problem. I do know when I had a conversation with the chief the other day, the chief seems to think that that's a big problem, a big manpower usage, and we don't seem to get much back for it. So maybe the chief would have something to add to it.
Hey, I got another question I have right here. Because we closed the street, so DPW and you guys, do we pay for that, or do they pay for that, or?
Borough pays for
I'm
it.
sure we pay for it.
I don't know. Sometimes other people pay for it.
And it's down to Thompson Street?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll get you there. Chief, you have some comments? As Councilman
It's
George?
just, we've seen it over the years, and it's not heavily attended.
Yeah.
And we hear it all the time from the businessmen too, that we're shutting them down, and
police department has nothing to do, we act for the council. You know, and it's your decision, and we'll do whatever you want, but, you know, we take the brunt of the blame.
Understand?
Can't they create a route that doesn't use something?
Well, this was the point of the business community in December, but what happened, of course, was that they meet, I think, every 2 months, if I'm not mistaken.
Right,
And
yeah.
so this is the first meeting after the December meeting, and we're having it tomorrow night. And what I would suggest is that we will have it downstairs. As a matter of fact, we're gonna have it downstairs. That's obviously up for discussion, and they were, the few, I say the few because of the number of businesses that we have, but it was reasonably well attended in December. I think there were probably, well, you were there, maybe 20, 30 people there in December? So something like that. So, I mean, it's reasonably attended, but not relative to the entire business community in town. But in essence, there seemed to be some, for lack of a better word, interest if they could essentially not close down their businesses on Main Street, if I may put it that way. So, but that's aside from the point that you and the chief make. So, in essence, I think we'll have our meeting, and then we'll report back, and I hope that this can wait until 2 more weeks. That's fair? Fair enough?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Now, the one that I skipped. That was one I skipped. Now, we'll to 8. Designation of acting deputy clerk. Would
Yes.
you give us a little background, and we'll go?
Yes, council, I just want to bring to your attention that there's 2 meetings, one in March and one in April that I will be unable to attend. So, if you so choose, we can appoint Dan Jaxel as the acting deputy clerk and in order to conduct the meeting.
He's not gonna get paid more, right?
No,
Good job.
unless you want to consider it.
No, I don't.
So that resolution will be understood.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Okay. Work session, now we go to ordinances, first reading. First reading, ordinance number 2016-3, an ordinance of the Borough of Raritan, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, grant non-exclusive permission and consent to Sunesis Inc., its successors and assigns, to use the existing public right-of-way along Greenwich Plaza and Glacier Avenue in the Borough of Raritan, Somerset County, New Jersey, above the surface thereof for installation, operation, repair, maintenance, and replacement of fiber optic cable. Are we good?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any question? Okay, roll call.
Councilman Bray,
Yes.
Council President Kara,
Yes.
Councilwoman Danilo.
Yes.
Councilman Fooey.
Yes.
Councilman Giraldi.
Yes.
Councilman Sebelia.
Yes.
Number 10, resolution number 20,
Excuse me, Mayor, can you announce the date of the
Oh, and-
public hearing?
okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I thought I was gonna get away with that. The ordinance listed above, which is the one we just read, which is 2016-3, for first reading will be considered for final passage at a public hearing, after a public hearing thereon, at the meeting of the said Borough Council to be held in this municipal building, 22 First Street, Raritan, New Jersey, on Tuesday, March 8th at 7 p.m., or at any time and place to which the meeting for further consideration of the ordinance shall be adjourned. You're welcome. Okay, number 10, resolution number 2016-2-36, resolution of the Borough of Raritan, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, authorizing the award of contract for professional services with RT Environmental Services. I don't recollect the amount, but I thought it was $800.
$800.
Okay, I do recollect it. Okay. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion.
Councilman Giraldi, second.
Second.
Councilman Bray, a discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Bray.
Yes.
Council President Kara.
Yes.
Councilwoman Danilo.
Yes.
Councilman Fooey.
Yes.
Councilman Giraldi.
Yes.
Councilman Sebelia.
Yes.
Okay, passes. Resolution number 2016-02-37, 2016 temporary appropriation totaling $10,576,281.85.
Make a motion?
Second? Anyone?
I'll second.
Councilwoman Kara? Councilman Fooey, roll call, please. Any discussion? Roll.
Councilman Bray?
Yes.
Council President Kara?
Yes.
Councilwoman Danilo?
Yes.
Councilman Fooey?
Yes.
Councilman Giraldi?
Yes.
Councilman Sebelia?
Yes.
Resolution 2016-020-39, transportation of certain pupils to regional.
Skip one, yes.
Oh, man, okay. I'll go back to transportation of certain, I should check. I know. Well, I'm here, so. Transportation of certain pupils through regional schools. This is in your packet. Can I have a motion for that, please?
Make a motion.
A second, please.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Giraldi, Councilman Bray, can I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Bray?
Yes.
Council President Kara?
Yes.
Councilwoman Danilo?
Yes.
Councilman Fooey?
Yes.
Councilman Giraldi?
Yes.
Councilman Sebelia?
Yes.
Okay, the resolution that was skipped, the resolution 2016-02-39, I just did that, I'm sorry. Resolution 2016, terrible, 2016-02-38, resolution to cancel a funded capital appropriation. That was in your packet. I could have a motion, please.
Make a motion.
Councilman Giraldi,
Second.
Councilwoman Kara. Any discussion? Okay, can I have a vote call? Roll call?
Councilman Bray?
Yes.
Council President Kara?
Yes.
Councilwoman Danilo?
Yes.
Councilman Fooey?
Yes.
Councilman Giraldi?
Yes.
Councilman Sebelia?
Yes.
Resolution 2016-0240, appointing Dan Jacksell as our acting deputy clerk when necessary. Could I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay. Councilwoman Kara and Councilman Sebelia, roll call, please.
Councilman Bray?
Yes.
Council President Kara?
Yes.
Councilwoman Danilo?
Yes.
Councilman Fooey?
Yes.
Councilman Giraldi?
Yes.
Councilman Sebelia?
Yes.
Resolution number 2016-02-41, resolution of the Borough of Raritan, Somerset County, State of New Jersey, authorizing the borough to execute shared services agreement between the Borough of Raritan and the Township of Bridgewater for inspection services for the electrical subcode official/inspector services. Could I have a motion?
To make a motion.
Councilman Giraldi?
Second.
Councilwoman Danilo, questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman Bray?
Yes.
Council President Kara?
Yes.
Councilwoman Danilo?
Yes.
Councilman Fooey?
Yes.
Councilman Giraldi?
Yes.
Councilman Sebelia?
Yes.
Resolution 2016-02-42, and this is in your packet. This is for the budget transfers. Could I have a motion, please?
motion.
Councilwoman Kara? Kara, sorry. Second?
I'll second.
Councilman Giraldi? Any discussion?
No.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilman Bray?
Yes.
Council President Kara?
Yes.
Councilwoman Danilo?
Yes.
Councilman Fooey?
Yes.
Councilman Giraldi?
Yes.
Councilman Sebelia?
Yes.
Okay, this next resolution, this is relevant to the building inspector's report that our attorney read just a few moments ago, and it's in your package. Resolution number 2016-02-43, a resolution authorizing the borough attorney to proceed with a public hearing notification relative to Chapter 113 of the Code of the Borough of Raritan, called unfit buildings. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion.
Okay, who's that? You did, all right. Councilman Sebelia, second. Councilwoman Kara. Roll call, please.
Councilman Bray?
Yes.
Council President Kara?
Yes.
Councilwoman Danilo?
Yes.
Councilman Fooey?
Yes.
Councilman Giraldi?
Yes.
Councilman Sebelia?
Yes.
Okay, item number 10 on our agenda, purchase order request from the fire department, a pump, cab, and chassis service engines 52-1, 52-2, and 52-3, fire apparatus repair in the amount of $3,345, and that information was also in your packet. Can I have a motion, please?
Make the motion.
Councilman Sebelia?
Second.
Councilman Bray, discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Bray?
Yes.
Council President Kara?
Yes.
Councilwoman Danilo?
Yes.
Councilman Fooey?
Yes.
Councilman Giraldi?
Yes.
Councilman Sebelia?
Yes.
Okay, under old business, which is item number 12. Mr. Fooey has made great progress.
Yeah.
Thank you. Calendar.
Yes, everyone, Mayor and Council received copies of our latest draft. Here's where we stand on getting it done. I've been to the post office, and it's not as bad as I thought it would be.
The cost of mailing, it'd be 33, one second. If we go to businesses and residents, it's 3,674 calendars. If it's residential only, it's 3367. But the difference in price for postage is nominal. It's 18 cents per calendar. So the cost of hitting everybody, including businesses, would be $672. Now, I had $4,400 to work with, left over from the last calendar. So subtracting that leaves me with roughly $37.77. So I was hoping to get calendars printed for around $3,600. I got two quotes. They both came in over $5,000. So I'm going to be short, about $1,500, something like that, $1,600. What we could do, we look at other options. We talked about the other options of not mailing them.
A hybrid approach, where you mail.
Hybrid approach, but we talked about also just mailing it one last time this year, getting them out.
But you're short.
But I'm short. What we could do, and now the one printer said he could give me, for $3,500, he could print 2,500 calendars, which would be a lot. We could distribute if we chose not to mail them. Just distribute them in terms of having the library, here in this whole building, senior meeting, But you're not gonna hit everybody, that's the whole problem.
Right.
Maybe in the future, we could talk about that. Again, I talked to Lisa Simonetti, and our tax collector, and I asked her, how many people come to this building to pay their taxes? And she said, roughly.
Everybody.
50, well, she said roughly 50%, which is quite a big number, 50% of the residents come here. So if we do decide to distribute them in our building, there's a perfect place to do it. I would just assume mail them, and I spoke to Dan about this, and we have an account for events. Now, the way this calendar is set up, there's not a whole theme for the whole calendar. Each month has its own theme, and if you notice, for most of those months, it also promotes an event for that month. Santa comes to town, Halloween parade, and the costume contest. Certainly promotes recreation during the year. So if you look at it in that perspective, then it could be considered an event, expense, and then we get the money.
Or as I said to Councilman Foley, we could just add 2,000 to administration and be done with it. It doesn't matter, you're still raising the money, but it's council's call if that's what you want to increase the budget to pay for the talent.
Did you go to like regional printers, or did you go like to a big?
No, last time they went to Kinko's, and they paid $5,580. I think I thought that was high.
Sounds
And
to me high.
so I'm not going to go to Kinko's or Staples, so I went to two printers locally I'm familiar with, and they both came in with over $5,000 for this. So I was kind of taken aback at that. I didn't expect it to be that high.
We have some printers that we use right now. Don't we have printers that the borough uses?
Not color ones?
Print a calendar?
Print a calendar?
But Councilman Brady had some questions.
Sorry.
Just about the calendar itself, speaking from the Board of Health, the meetings are at 7, not 6:30, and they don't meet over the summer. So just make sure that just the information is correct, that's all. On our part. Yeah, it got changed since the last calendar, I guess.
And there's an environmental issue regarding all this paper.
All right.
Well, actually, one of the printers that I'm dealing with,
I can't believe we're still talking about this calendar.
we used to deal with Alpha Graphics all the time, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, well, Alpha Graphics is now called 8 Visuals. It's a different name, it's the same group, same company. That's one of the companies I was considering.
Well, we currently download the old calendar on the website right now.
What we're gonna do with this one, this is gonna be downloadable too. Once we're done with it, we're gonna put it
Well,
on.
if that's the case, then why would you print one for every place?
Because the money was put there for that, and we can't just not use the money from the businesses that gave the money. That's the whole point, we gotta use it.
Why don't we give it
because
back?
that's-
It's about 3 years.
Some of the businesses aren't
See,
even
that's what the
existing
thinking,
anymore. They
that
gave money.
was the thinking with also including the sponsors again on this calendar, because the way I see it is that, yes, they paid for the last calendar, 2-3 years ago. And this is money left over, which actually came from them.
Right.
So, in effect, they pay for, 2 calendars, really. So,
Let's come to some conclusion. I think what's on the table is you want to put up more money, or do you want to essentially say live with the budget and then figure out how to electronically deliver it and reduce the printing down to the budget?
I mean, I'm sure, I got 2
But
printers
I
here.
think that's where we are.
I'm sure I could.
Let's get resolution on this.
Yeah.
And I agree, that's probably the way to do it within the amount of money we have.
And the rest
I
of
mean,
digital,
you
it is
know,
what it is.
Yep.
And then you can decide to distribute it by mail, you can distribute it at the tax office, however you want to do it.
Or you can,
As long as
and
you do it
just,
within budget, I don't care.
listen, if you want, yeah, give it to, like, if Joe's Deli gave it, give some to Joe's, you have to go to Joe's Deli to pick up your calendar.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm with you.
So just live within budget and figure out
Yes.
the best way to do it.
Yeah, get the best bang for your buck.
Do not increase the operating budget.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
Well,
I mean, environmentally, I mean, really, it's amazing all this paper we're gonna spend.
Right.
I mean,
But I'm sympathetic to people who gave you the money, but,
Yeah.
you know, let's take advantage of technology where we can, and so I think you can reduce your printing, and if you're gonna mail it, then reduce it a little further, and then get it out to however you
Well,
want.
yeah, you don't have to mail it, and then you could use that money to make more calendars.
That's
So
right.
then they have to pick it up.
And
There
then
you
they
go.
can have them here, or,
if we choose not to mail it, yes, I can live within the budget, because I'll have, the one printer said he can do 2,500 for $3,500.
There you go.
There you go.
Look at that.
And that's,
We're saving.
it's still quite a lot, we won't be mailing it.
Would you give it to the businesses too?
I would say keep
I would
them
give it to
here,
the
like you said,
businesses.
at the tax office, people will pick them up there.
Give it to senior
And then give them
citizens
to some of the
forever,
businesses, bring some to the library.
I'll bring them to the.
and then give it to the businesses who donate.
everybody good with that?
Yep.
Yes,
Good, okay,
Okay, fine.
calendar done,
okay.
2017.
So we're gonna attract.
2017.
All right, old business number 2, the Verizon TV channel.
Yes, I want to let you know where we are with this. Surprisingly, I got an email from Verizon on Friday saying that they can hook us up in 2 weeks, and we could be on the air in Verizon in the first week of March. There was an engineer from Verizon here 2 weeks ago, and I met with him, and he checked it out. And Verizon is willing to bring our connection into the building, into the basement, that room downstairs where we have all the connections for Cablevision, for Verizon and telephone. But for them to come up to this room here, which they have to do, we have to provide a conduit down. Meaning, I mean, the best way to explain this is, the way cable is set up, there's a pipe that goes up from that room, up into here. And right now, it's filled with cable, so you can't squeeze another one in there. And they said, all you need to do is get an electrician to run a conduit, like a PVC pipe, or even a plastic pipe, whatever, from this room downstairs into the communications room. If we do that, Verizon will run a cable into the building, and they'll run it all the way up here through the building. And if you see the inside of the closet, on one wall there, we have the transmitter and everything for Cablevision. Now, Verizon will require something similar, so we'd have to put another piece of plywood on the other opposite wall, or possibly on the back of this closet here and there, which Public Works can do very easily.
Right.
And then Verizon comes in, and basically they put in the same type of equipment that Cablevision has in their transmitter, and all works. And the only daily cost I can see is having an electrician come in. But, Dan said, we're gonna budget again this year for 10,000, but we're not gonna spend 10,000, much like last year, we budgeted for 10, we spent less than 4, but that included the initial cost of the camera. Your regular costs are still gonna be minimal for this coming year. The cost of our cameramen, that amounts to between $600 and $700 a year. We pay $60 a year for a website that connects the videos to our rural website. And then,
The electrician.
the electrician, again, that's a one-time cost.
But listen, I'm not,
And we probably,
But on Cablevision, we use the county, not the county, the school's channel, right?
no, that's a public access channel, anybody can use that, that's,
So we could use the same
we share-
channel.
yeah, we're not gonna share a Files channel with the school, because they,
But do we need equipment or people, or how?
but
does
the
that work?
Optimum, can I just, the Optimum, can we do that on our own as well as Fios? instead of sharing it with the school
We
system?
could get our own channel, but, sharing with the school system has not been an issue. It's been a simple thing. I flip the switch. and-
Yeah, but you know what, it could bring up issues of what we have, so the school might want separation from that. So I'm just saying, if we had our own,
Well, technically, though, it's not their dedicated channel. For FiOS, they have actually 2 dedicated channels. Nobody else uses them except the school.
No.
That's what we originally were gonna tap into, until I found out actually somebody has to switch it over there, not here.
We're getting bogged down. We're at the point,
Sorry.
pardon?
No, sorry. Go ahead.
We're at the point now that it's technically viable for FiOS to bring it in here, from what you're saying.
Yes,
Right.
I have an electrician coming in tomorrow to look at it.
Okay. The second thing is that since we're not going to the school, is there anything that we have to do different? So like at the school, you flip some switch, and I assume they have some sort of equipment over there, I don't know. Would we need any equipment on this side?
Initially, no, it's gonna be the
Okay.
same situation as cable, and I flip a switch, this time I'll flip a switch.
It
and
just goes on?
And then, because it's our own channel, eventually, and I spoke to the IT person at the county, who handles our computers and everything. I said, you could pick up a computer for $500 and run a PowerPoint program of announcements from the town. You do that too.
Okay.
So again, it's not a big, it's not a big.
So does anybody have a problem bringing FiOS into the building?
No, I don't have a problem with it, but I don't see us putting aside $10,000 for this. We're talking,
You said 10,000?
Yeah,
I
don't think you're gonna even get the.
I don't think we're gonna,
we're talking
We
much
don't know
smaller
that,
numbers.
with the
than that.
large piping, because we had it in last year.
well, I'll know tomorrow, because the guy's gonna give me
Well,
an
I
estimate
need-
tomorrow what it costs. It's not gonna cost much to run a pipe from here.
Well, you'll find out
Might
tomorrow.
do the-
We'll find out
okay.
tomorrow.
Okay, all right.
I mean, and if it turns
All
out
right.
to be as minimal as I think it will be, I'm gonna drop the budget, this is gonna happen anyway.
Good job.
Okay, good, thank you. Committee reports.
Am I up?
Either one. It's not Andy, you, doesn't matter.
Go, Paul.
I went to the Basilone Parade Committee. It was a off day. There were only 3 of us there, so there really wasn't much of a meeting at that point. I met with the chief, police department, talked about the items which we discussed in executive, so that took care of itself. The only other thing that's still outstanding is the library meeting. The library board at the last meeting requested that we have a mutual get-together.
Yes.
And if we decide to have that, now they were kind of insistent to have it at their location in the library. If in fact we decide to have a meeting, it would obviously be a different location, a different time. We would have to all agree that that would be something we would want to do. So I guess I'm looking for a blessing before I get back to them. If we're going to have a meeting in the library, meeting with the library board, I would need to get the blessing from everybody here that that's not an issue. Or if you would rather I present it to them, that we have the meeting here in Borough Hall where we can stream
We can
the
film it,
video,
yeah.
that would be my personal preference,
Oh,
because
is
then
it?
the whole town would be able to see.
I mean, I don't have a problem with them sitting up here and us sitting in the audience, very honestly.
I don't have
I
a
don't
problem,
care.
I just think since we have the camera and we can access all the people in town,
I think it's good.
why not have
It's a
it
great
here?
idea.
I think the residents would find it interesting.
So do I.
I mean, it's $400-some thousand, so it's not 20
Yeah.
cents.
Right, yeah.
My message back to them is that we would prefer.
Have it
this
here,
to
they can
go
have
there.
the dais, we'll be in the audience.
And we just have to
work on
the date.
Does that work?
Yeah, works for me.
You guys are okay?
Yeah.
Good.
I gotta get a
Okay, thank you.
Zach, do you mind if we just go this way, or so we have no?
Go ahead, man, go.
Okay.
Okay, for the month of January, from the municipal court, 207 cases filed. Total amount collected for that month was $15,478, $7,785 of which went to the borough. Due to the snowstorm, there was only 1 court session in January. For the Board of Health, we have $423 total dollars for the month of January collected from the food and beverage report in licenses and permits and that stuff. For the month of January I guess this is also the Board of Health, 4 marriage license at $3 for $12, 17 copies for $195, and 245 copies of death certificates for $812 for a total of $1,019. The Board of Health would also like to recognize February as Low Vision Awareness Month, and the American Heart Month, and National Children's Dental Health Month. And the rec will meet Thursday. I have nothing to report on rec until Thursday.
Thank you very much.
I would just like to commend Public Works again for taking care of
I stole your thunder, I didn't do that.
Oh, that's okay. They're taking care of Somerset Street. They did a great job, and it really helps the businesses.
Can didn't other residents help out? I think
Yeah, they're running.
there was a landscaping company, right?
Yeah, no.
Yes, they did.
We
Yes.
put it was amazing. It was, not to get too much into it, but I spoke with Dan Lamberti, who runs it, and we needed equipment. So
Yeah.
I was calling around to the county and so forth, and lo and behold, John Paternoster,
Fred Sinigro.
Yeah,
Yes,
FTS
there you go.
landscaping, and didn't,
David Esposito.
yeah, I think we should give them props. I mean, that's
Yeah.
big
No,
for
I mean,
residents to help
it was
out.
not only time, but it was equipment.
Yeah, no, that's really nice.
And then Fred Sinigro, he had a ball joint break on his vehicle, because obviously this is not easy to work in that type of situation.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna ask Dan if he could write a letter to Public Works, and it was those three.
Yeah, I believe so, right?
Just thanking them from the mayor and council.
And Dawn was nice enough to take a picture of them, and whoever was nice enough to put it on our website, and I think they did a really nice job. And it was a very good snowstorm to live in a borough. The townships were unbelievable. The county told me, don't even talk to me about equipment for over a week.
Yeah.
So it was, the duration was unbelievable. And as I explained to some of the council people, is that its duration was that after 20 hours, you know, you have to stop driving and you have to go to sleep. And this snow event lasted much longer than that. And frankly, when I woke up on Sunday, it was the first time I remember my street not being plowed. But it was plowed twice before, and by 11 o'clock, everybody was in good shape. And people who emailed me, and I asked them a little patience, they were very happy with the responsiveness of Public Works, and what you were saying with the downtown, the businessmen were like, took a pink.
Exactly. Okay, that's
Yeah,
it.
good job.
Thank you.
Grant, a report, okay, Jim?
I want to say, since our last meeting was talking about snow, since the last meeting when I mentioned cleaning the fire hydrants, I was driving around town, I noticed several hydrants were cleared out. So maybe the word is getting out that this has to be done. So I would remind residents that we still have several weeks of winter left, and we could still get a decent snowstorm. And it doesn't have to be a monster storm like we had last time to bury a hydrant. You could take 6 or 7 inches is enough to bury a hydrant, especially when the plows come through. And you have to create a 3-foot circumference around it and make sure there's a path from the hydrant to the street. Because God forbid if there's a fire in front of your house, you don't want,
Or your neighbors.
or your neighbors, you don't want the firemen wasting time trying to shovel out snow. They have to put up right there, so.
Anything on senior citizens or anything?
No, they haven't met yet this
Okay.
month, and historical hasn't met yet this month, I think.
And just one other thing on the library, Andy, you know.
Yeah, no problem.
Is that, one of the things that was an issue with the library, as you may or may not know, the library does its own lawns and its own snow. And the library was closed for a day, and after our budget meeting, we went to the library to see if it was opened up yet, and it wasn't. And so one of the things that I'd like to bring up at the library meeting that we have next is that the town include the library on the snow side of the removal, because what occurs is not only the obvious, which is the snow's on the sidewalk, which it shouldn't be, but unintended consequences, and there are several, but one of the unintended consequences is that the library is closed, obviously, if it is not shoveled. And so what I noticed was that the next day the town was open, and I spoke with Dan as well as Councilman Giraldi, and we have a list that the town does on snow, and that would go a long way to keep the library open. And then, of course, the second thing that I spoke with Ron Rispoli was that they were following a snow closure with the schools, and really I think that we're going to discuss that at the next meeting, because in essence, the library is an institution that even during a snow day, if we can get it open, it clearly could be open, and it would be great to get the kids out of the house there.
Yeah, let it down.
So I apologize, I meant to do that when you were speaking of it, so.
I have nothing, I'm good.
I love it, Oh, right.
All that I want to know about.
Okay, very fine. We are done with item 13. I'm sorry, we still have public comments. Sorry about that. Done is a word of art, you know.
I was just zooming out. It's all
In
good.
essence, we have now open for public comments. Would anyone in the audience care to speak? Yes, sir.
My name is TJU.
Does he have to?
I live in Raritan for 18 years.
Yes, sir.
I have a rental property. I had no problem with the state inspection, town inspection so far. So I want to have a request for the change inspector to the rental property inspection. I had a ticket and a violation, and this one, it says, before he walked into the property, this one small shoes in the right front of the door. He says 3 feet away to the doorway. And this one in the bedroom, one little ball, kid's room in the ball, he said he's gonna give a fine for this. And one tenant have 2 cats, have a screen and messed up. Me and tenant, we talking about, he put the tape and fetched. He said, gotta be changed, how can change? And
Excuse
he
me,
say, I have a violation about the kitchen floor, gotta be really major clean. Some tenant, they keep clean. Some tenant, they run 2 jobs to pay rent. So some rent tenant clean, some tenant a little bit mess. But when I see, no problem. And he said bathroom, it was not the fungus. This was the tenant that didn't clean. He was there like 8 o'clock in the morning inspection, so a little bit dirty. But he said, you gotta take your whole caulking, gotta redo the caulking. I try to reason with him. I cannot reason with him. Then for me, it's like he do discriminating. One day, 6:30 in the morning, he called my cousin. She was car sick, car had an accident, she was sick. 6:30 in the morning, he called. He said he gonna give a fine. Or they gotta move to the barbecue grill. She almost had a heart attack. I took him to the office. I asked him, what time you start work? He said, why you asking? Because too early. Then I asked him, did somebody tenant to complain? Did you went to the place? Did you check? He said, he cannot find the address. Before you check, you just called and give rating. Because he knows that address, because he gave me the fine. Last time I paid the fine. That's why I cannot reason with him. Can I have other inspector to inspection of my rental property?
Okay. What I think I would like to do, if I may, is if you could leave your name and address with Mr. Jaxel, I would like to give you a call, and I'd like to review the paperwork so I can see it with you. Okay? And then we'll proceed from there. Is that fine?
And
Thank you.
yesterday I went to the court, prosecutor told me that he wanna talk about this matter to the council or whatever, the office for the town, because this is, he asked me, is that a store? No, it's a residential. And tenant got cleaner, they clean between the tenant and me. Why I gotta clean tenant's house?
Within the next 2 days, okay, if I have your name and phone number, I'll give you a call and we'll sit down so we can understand this. Okay? I just want to understand it better, okay? This is very hard for this forum. Very fine. Anyone else? Close the public session, and Mr. Sedillo, your favorite part?
Make the motion.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Andy,